Hey everybody, it's CA Priest, and in the last video I told you that I would do a video on the comic that I wrote, CheMystery, and so here we are. I'm going to cover the first 2 chapters today, and I've got to say, like, I used this in my classroom. I wrote it to use in my classroom. So the first 2 chapters cover like mixtures, compounds, what it is to be an element, also nuclear chemistry, which really brings in, how the kids get their superpowers, which I use in a very classic way. So let's just dive in the first 2 chapters here. So the main character is Susie, and she, her partner in crime, if you will, is Diego, her cousin. And it starts out with, it being Susie's birthday and them having a good time. And for Susie's birthday, she likes to, do arts and crafts kind of things with her mother, who is a painter. And you can see nice illustrations here of graphite coming off the pencil. It's really neat stuff. And also it goes into a little bit of how to make paint. So you can get into mixtures and compounds, and you're crushing a mineral using those the inorganic compounds that give off a beautiful color, and suspending that into some organic compounds like oils and stuff, which is discussed here. Paint science. Then so Susie likes to play Truth or Dare, and she's playing this with Diego. He doesn't really like to play it, but he decides to anyway, because it's Susie's birthday. And she dares him to do something, and it ends up making him a little sick and having to go to the doctor, unfortunately. So I have a nice little diagram of chelation therapy, and like metals poisoning, and how some of those can overlap, and how how that can be kind of confusing to try to figure out what a diagnosis is of whether it's cadmium, whether it's arsenic, whether whatever it could be, because they have those metals have, some of those metals have very similar properties. And of course, with the birthday, it wouldn't be complete without some cake. All right, so we totally go into some cake science, which is really cool. So that really looks into the first chapter. Then into the second chapter, Diego and Susie somehow get some powers. So the family takes a trip, to visit other family and to do some work, and they're laying out on the beach, and Susie gets a sunburn. And so I'll kind of go into a little bit of what a sunburn is, and how that can be treated with aloe, and the effectiveness of sunscreen and the compounds used there. Also, one of my favorite things in this entire graphic novel is this double-page spread of the history of the atom, going back from Thomson, and working our way forward to the quantum atom. Niels Bohr is one of my favorite scientists of all time. I actually went over to Copenhagen about a year ago now, and checked out the Niels Bohr Institute and saw some of the stuff that they had there. Just a brilliant scientist. Love his work and what he did. But Susie and Diego are exposed to some radiation as they're trying to save someone. I'll show you a little clip here. And from that, of course, instead of being toasted alive, they actually gain superpowers. And one of I love this diagram at the bottom. So you can see what a 1st degree, 3rd degree, and 2nd degree burn is based on how much exposure your skin has to the radiation. And then Susie and Diego, after they wake up with from the exposure to the radiation, they have some really awesome powers where they can see in different wavelengths. And so Josh did a wonderful job of really trying to communicate what it would kind of look like if you're seeing in that wavelength region. And then so that kind of concludes the first 2 chapters and some of the science that I talk about within it. Certainly there's more story there, and I don't want to give it all away because you should totally pick it up. And so also part of this is a lead into, I have another comic coming out that I'll be putting on Kickstarter October 1st, and that is Fire Salt Slime. Okay, so Fire Salt Slime coming, being launched live October 1st, and where this is very much based on superheroes and looking at science through this superhero lens and having fun with it that way. Fire Salt Slime takes a different approach to science comics and really has the kids has the characters entrenched in the real world and looking around them and being curious and investigating, doing experiments with things that they normally would have access to and thinking through that process. If you're a teacher, absolutely, I think this will be a wonderful resource in your classroom. And as for a student, I think it would just be a fun read for you to look and learn some science in a different way other than a textbook. Now, I want to share with you also something that's directly behind me. One of my favorite pieces of anything in science comics. It was written by Neil Gaiman, master of writing, and also in his own right a master of comic art, Mike Allred, colored by Laura Allred, and that is this beautiful display of Metamorpho, who can transform himself into any element on the periodic table, jumping from element to element, chasing another evil version of himself. And beautiful. If you haven't had a chance to read this or see it, it's in DC's Wednesday Comics. And yeah, so like I got this and framed it. I have another version in a nice hardbound, which has better color than that, but I'm not going to rip it out of the nice hardbound version to put it up on my wall. But anyway, that's all for now. I will cover the last 2 chapters of CheMystery in a later video. So stay tuned, and I will talk about that more later. And check out Fire Salt Slime October 1st when it goes live. And take care, you all. Bye.